Matt mentioning this. If anybody is going to testify this evening, you need to please sign in with your name and address, please. And then when you do come up and present testimony, just indicate your name, spell your name and your address. Okay, we ready to go? Recording's underway. My gavel tonight. Okay, let me call to order the May 27th meeting of the Town of McCandless Zoning Hearing Board, called to order at 7 p.m. by myself, Chairman Greg Quachak. We have board member Scott Metzger present, and thanks Art for pinch hitting. Art is our first alternate. Mr. McGraw was unable to be here this evening, so Arthur Nussbaum is our first alternate on the zoning hearing board, so he's stepping into the action tonight. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Anybody that's going to present testimony tonight, please rise and raise your right hand. Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you shall give tonight shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Okay, thank you. Okay, in addition to the zoning hearing board, we have Matthew Innes, who's the zoning and planning director for the town of McCandless present. Alan Shuckrow is our solicitor for this board, and he has an assistant this evening, Elizabeth, learning the ropes. And we also have our secretary taking care of the minutes, and these meetings are recorded as well. Okay, we have a pretty full agenda. In fact, one of the fuller agendas I've seen in all my time on the zoning hearing board. We have 6 appeals, but we'll start off with approval of the March 25th meeting minutes. Those have been previously circulated, right? Because we did not meet in April. Correct. So, and comments were made and incorporated. Art, I know you weren't there. Scott, do you have a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
I also was not. I think Art was subbed for me at the board.
Okay,
so I
right.
need to table these for the next meeting.
Very good. Thanks. You're right. Thanks, Scott. You were not here as well. So we will hold those meeting minute approval until the June meeting. Okay, so we'll move right into the first appeal. The first appeal is 2056. The applicant is Paul M. and Heather J. Knapp. That's Knapp. The location of property is 412 Arcadia Drive. The parcel identification is 826-A as in apple -291. It is located within an R, which is low density neighborhood zoning district. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 1304.230 subsection A as an apple, which states pools with a wall height of less than 4 feet shall be enclosed with a fence. Before we turn it over to Mr. Knapp, Matt's tied up here for a second. Okay. Matt, does the town have any perspective or any issues with this appeal?
The town has no comment on this appeal.
Okay, very good. Okay, sir. Again, introduce your name and your address, and then the floor is yours.
Very good. Good evening. My name is Paul Knapp, Knapp. I own the lot at 412 Arcadia Drive with my wife, Heather. We purchased the roughly 5-acre plot in late 2003 and have since built our forever home on it. And we're currently in the process of property improvement and significant cleanup, as there was quite a bit of farm debris and invasive species on the lot. Rather than going through the whole application that I'm sure you guys have already reviewed and doing a long PowerPoint, I've asked that we put up this simple survey. As you can tell, I am neither an engineer or an artist, so please forgive me with the markup. But the survey is the most current one that I have. It shows the location of our new home, the proposed location of the swimming pool directly behind it. And I've also placed my neighbor's house at the lower southeast corner of our lot as well for reference. I just want to use this map as a reference point to make 4 points about my request, and then we'll let you guys get on to the rest of your business. The first point I want to make is that a pool cover is not really an option for us. Again, 5 acres. It's mostly heavily wooded property. We are surrounded by multiple large lots that are also wooded. So we've got deer, we have turkeys, we have fox, all the animals all the time in our backyard looking in the back window. So we've been told by experts that the minimum fence height to exclude deer from an area is 6 feet. However, because we are very limited as to where we can put our pool, there's only one flat spot behind the house. The pool will have to go immediately up against a pretty steep hillside. which would give the deer a jumping off point, making a fence height to exclude them even higher than 6 feet, 8, 9 feet, something like that. So clearly not reasonable. So our only option is to have a security cover, whether we put a fence in or not, to keep deer from falling in, prevent drownings, damage, etc. Additional benefits of the cover are energy efficiency and cleanliness and all of that, but that's not really relevant to this hearing. The second point I want to make is that there really is no good way for us to put a fence around this pool. Again, because the pool and its concrete and associated drainage infrastructure has to go immediately up against a steep hill in order to fit in the spot available. We would have to put a fence on a steep hill, and putting a fence on a steep hill requires extra deep footing or anchors for the posts. We would also likely have to clear some shrub and trees off of that hillside in order to facilitate the installation of the fence. And we have a bit of an erosion problem on that hill, so we really don't want to do that. It would also interfere with us being able to replant and add native species to the hillside, again, to mitigate some of our erosion issues. The rest of the site around the pool is problematic as well. If you look at the blue rectangle, it is the pool. Immediately to its north, the hill just drops off and it heads right down towards the creek where there is a 35-foot exclusion zone, I believe. There's just no good way to put a fence on that kind of a hilly property, and we're a little bit limited by space. We have discussed the options with our builder, however, just in case we have to do this. None of them are cheap, and they will all end up looking a little bit wonky from the back of the house, and will destroy the views, quite frankly, of the woods that we enjoy so much through the large windows facing out the back of the house. The third issue that I want to point out is that access to our property is extremely limited. So the only way for anybody to actually get to the house and subsequently around and back to the swimming pool would be to walk up the driveway. And our driveway is in excess of 475 feet long. All of the other approaches are blocked from reasonable access, either by waterways, steep hills, woods, or all three. As you can see on the map, to the north, we have a creek that runs 365 that is in a very deep gully. In places, it's as deep as 25 feet. I couldn't get across that if I wanted to. There is also a creek that runs across the front just outside of our property line between us and Arcadia that is quite deep too. It comes off of a large sewer culvert that goes under the road, collecting water from a creek that comes from another hillside. The entire property is in a valley, so on all sides, whether we own it or not, we are surrounded by very steep hills. And the entirety of our property in the rear and on the sides, and the majority of the surrounding lots, are very heavily wooded, including thick brush, a lot of invasive species, honeysuckle, and all that kind of stuff. Walking to the rear of our lot is nearly impossible without tools. And so a child that is small enough to be stopped by a 4-foot fence, I doubt would be able to get through any of these obstacles at all. Quite frankly, I don't think most adults would be able to reasonably get through them without tools and making a heck of a lot of noise. With that said, the driveway is fully visible from the front of our house. It's not a large house, and it's got an open first floor concept, and we have a lot of windows. We built our house with glass so that we could see the woods. You can see clearly out the front of our house all the way to the street. You can also, by the way, see clearly out the back of the house to the pool site, which is immediately off our patio. It's pretty unlikely that anybody would be able to get up onto our property without us seeing it, or anywhere around the pool. However, it's a shared road as well. So anybody that wanted to come up to our property via the driveway would have to pass directly in front of my neighbor's house. And then finally, if you've been on Arcadia before, you can tell it's a little bit hazardous as a walking area. There are no sidewalks on Arcadia. There's a lot of blind hills and curves, and people do not obey the speed limit back there. I can say for a fact, after meeting most of my neighbors, that if a child was walking on that street, any number of grandmothers would come pouring out to grab him off of the road, if not the folks from the MTSA who also are next door. The fourth and final point I'd like to make is that pool security covers are recognized as appropriate alternatives to security fences around pools. An appropriately certified cover meets or exceeds the security provided by a 4-foot security fence. The Pennsylvania Building Code provides a specific exemption from fencing requirements when applicable certified criteria are met. Several surrounding communities provide similar exemptions, examples being Franklin Park and Cranberry, although I've been told by my pool installer there's more. And our homeowner's insurance provider doesn't require a fence, assuming one of these certified pool covers is used. The cover that we have chosen is the automatic pool cover APC 365. It's not only UL rated, but it meets the applicable ASTM standard for the Pennsylvania exemption. It's secured by either a locking key switch or a combination pad. We haven't decided on which one of those we're going to use yet, but those are the only two options available. And it will support 485 pounds. So the hardships I'm attempting to avoid primarily are financial. A 4-foot fence is redundant when an acceptable alternative is already in place for practical reasons like deer protection. The cover that we have chosen will cost in excess of $15,000 to install, and it's not at least $10,000 to the project while providing no additional benefit. A secondary hardship is the impact that the fence will have on the property itself. The hill, as discussed to the south of the pool site, will be disrupted and will have limited replanting options as a function of a fence being installed there. And then there's really just no good way to route a fence around the hilly property behind our house. And all possible solutions will result in an eyesore that might get me divorced. So in conclusion, a pool security cover is mandatory in our situation due to deer. A hilly pool site makes the installation of a fence difficult, expensive, and ugly. Access to the pool site is severely limited by natural obstacles, and driveway access is easily observed. And an appropriate pool security cover is an acceptable alternative to a fence, is accepted by the state of Pennsylvania, multiple surrounding communities, and our insurance provider. So I therefore respectfully request that you grant us this variance, and I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Before I ask for questions from the other members, the real, in my opinion, the real issue here is the equivalency of allowing this type of a cover in lieu of fence. We have the next appeal is the same exact appeal. And that applicant went into great detail, and I confirmed that with some research myself today, that the newly enacted Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code passed in January 1st of 2026 incorporates what was the former code relative to swimming pool safety, and that was the 2021 Pennsylvania Swimming Pool and Spa Code, which identifies requirements, pretty comprehensive requirements. And it's very clear in that code, which was then adopted by the Uniform Construction Code this year, that if you put this type of cover on that Mr. Knapp is referenced and is included in his information, that actually negates the need to provide fencing. So one question I had, Matt, is when we went through the update of our zoning code, did we do any, and I realize it was before your time, but do you recall if we did anything relative to swimming pools? Was anything changed? Was anything?
Off the top of my head, I don't
You
know
don't
the
know.
answer.
Okay.
I know that, when it comes to swimming pools zoning versus building and building code changes, that, there is an avenue in the building code, as we've stated and as Paul stated, that allows for what maybe previously the building code didn't permit because the technology wasn't there. Now that there's different technology, the building code has permitted that, and I don't think that was discussed or thought out about in 2023 because they were under the previous code.
Okay. Just some comments. I did visit the site. I can, for the record, indicate that the property was properly posted. Mr. Knapp correctly characterized. I was actually very familiar with the property. I was familiar with the farmhouse that was there before they purchased the property and tore that down. It is a unique piece of property. It is extremely topographically challenged. Your point about deer jumping over fence on the high side is a valid point. But it is a very unique piece of property with, as you indicate, 476-foot long driveway. It's pretty secluded. When I drove up today, Mr. Knapp heard me and saw me coming. Advised him that I couldn't talk about the case tonight, but I was just here to check out the property, but she was gracious to allow me to do that. So, so I think that's what the board, I think, needs to consider. And I don't know, obviously, Matt, I can't ask you to speak for council, and we do, for the audience's benefit, he came in a little bit late, but Joseph Wall is here. He is the liaison to this board for town council. That's Councilman Joe Wall. So, and ironically, Joe Wall lives on Arcadia Drive. So, and put in his people. So anyway, I'm wondering that, and maybe Joe, you could address this. I mean, would the town be receptive to, potentially revising? And again, this doesn't address what we're here for tonight, but do you think with
Yeah.
this, the fact that we had two appeals, I've been on this board for almost 15 years and I've never had one of these appeals. Now we got two in the same night. So it's obvious your point was a valid one. Technology changes. In my mind, this type of a cover is a much safer, better installation than a 4-foot fence.
I can just comment just from a professional standpoint. I'm a member of the CBO in PennBach, and we go to these, like regional quarterly meetings, and they discuss a lot of these items, and pools are typically an item that they would discuss. And this, this is actively discussed in the building community. Building code community has been discussed over the last few years. So this is definitely something that the town this year was going to consider looking at in the zoning update, if it's it can, whenever we do consider it at the planning commission and later this year.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt, but I mean, honestly, when you look at this and you have a provision in the building code that is on all fours here, you can argue that we shouldn't even have a provision like this in the zoning. The zoning ordinance should say it must comply with the building code. You follow what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
almost like it's it's inconsistent here and it's on top of, and safety issues are, zoning ordinances can have safety issues, and they do, but really something like this is best in the building code if it's addressing it.
Okay, thank you. Scott, any questions for Mr. Knapp?
No, I mean, I think just the one comment that I feel sometimes, I feel like I say this a lot when I'm on the zoning board, like to protect the board, I feel like I need to state for the record, wanting to put in a pool, like there's a way to avoid this hardship by not putting in a pool. We've had a lot of people say like, well, I need a backyard for my dogs. Well, having a dog is not technically a hardship under the law. So just stating that, like, I think that's one aspect that needs to be considered. To me, I think the fact that this is such a large lot with such steep topography gives me some, like, this is not a lot behind McIntyre Square, where the houses are packed in. We've got very, very unique circumstances, probably one of the larger lots in McCandless, I would think, just from the size here. I think your point that you would, if you were to put up a fence, you'd have to come back before us almost to request a height variance to try to stop the deer. So like either way, the purpose of the code here in your situation isn't going to meet what you have. I guess the only question I have, Alan, for you is, are we, like, we're operating in a quasi judicial manner here. Are we legislating by granting variances that are in this? And it sounds like Matt and the town may have already talked about this.
Right.
So
Sure, somebody could argue that, I think it's mitigated here by the actual facts as you've just described. I mean, Mr. Knapp didn't just come up here and say, I don't feel like putting a fence up. I mean, he had, he put substantial evidence in the record of
absolutely
actual hardships. But yeah, I mean, our role is not to change the code. But that's not our role. And we did have one example that I can think of that was in a use context that we had within the last couple of years, was when the folks came and wanted to put the tattoo parlor in. And I think we all thought that was, could have been a good idea, but I think at the time we might have turned that down, but then town council then amended the ordinance quickly. Here, I'm thinking that, an amendment to the code here will take some time, and, these folks,
Okay,
summer is
thanks.
coming.
Art, any questions?
Just one question, with the topography, if your neighbors wanted to put in a pool, would they face the same problem with steep hills and, you know, as you describe it?
So we're in the valley. On one side is the Venango subdivision. So they're regular suburban lots. I don't think they would suffer the same access issues. The neighbor that I share the driveway with is immediately next to Arcadia Drive, so he doesn't have the same topography issues either. All of my other neighbors are MTSA or a guy way up on a hill 6 acres away, and I can't even see his house. So, yeah.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this appeal? Okay, just one housekeeping point before I entertain a motion. Mr. Knapp, on the closing paragraph, there's just an incorrect reference. It says, with all the above considerations in mind, we respectfully ask the town of McCandless to grant us an exception from section 715.32 to allow us to install a pool with a certified. That's not the wrong reference. I don't know where.
Yeah,
It's 130230.
Caught that in the application form, and I provided an updated form to Matt, so it's correct there. It's just the letter that
Okay,
has the error.
just because that's part of the record, so I just
sure.
wanted to make, okay. So I think what we're hearing from our solicitor is, I think, good sound advice. I think it makes, the technology has changed. I think these types of covers are a better solution for safety, and in particular, when you look at the nuances of your lot. So I'm ready for a motion on this appeal.
And for appeal 2056 for the property located at 412 Arcadia Drive, I move that the applicant be granted a variance to section 1304 to allow him to install a pool without a fence, without being enclosed by a fence, subject to his application here tonight and the installation of the certified safety cover.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record show this appeal was approved unanimously 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And I'll just comment that I think because of the nuances and the evidence that was put in, I think we should write a decision that has some findings in it so we can not open this up, as Scott was mentioning, to, like, it's not like we're legislating, we're
Agreed.
granting this based on the hardships that were described.
Very good, Alan. Thank you. Okay, it's deja vu. Second appeal is 2061. Did you purposely put these so that we're back to that?
Yeah.
Very nice. Nicely done. Thank you. Notice the number sequence. I thought, good job, Matt. The applicant is Sean A. Graham, Graham. The location of this property is 1042 Printers Place. That has a parcel ID of 713-E as in Edward -145. This is also located in the low density neighborhood residential zoning district. And this is, the applicant is requesting the same variance. It's from section 1304.230 subsection A, which states pools with a wall height of less than 4 feet shall be enclosed with a fence. And Matt, I'm assuming that the town has no comment or perspective on this application?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Graham, floor is yours.
Thank you. Sean Graham, ShawnGraham, 1042 Printers Place. So yeah, I'll try to keep this, I guess, more brief since we've kind of hashed through a lot of what I'll be presenting, but we're requesting a dimensional variance to section 1304.230 to permit a powered ASTM rated automatic safety cover in lieu of the perimeter fence. Being a structural engineer, I do a lot with public safety, and having 2 kids ages 10 and 12, when we discussed getting a pool, first thing was, well, safety. And all of our research is these auto safety covers just exceed for that, for child safety, for animals, for everything, more so than a fence that can, easily be crawled over. So we're not asking to eliminate safety measures. We're asking the board just to recognize an auto safety cover satisfies the intent of the ordinance. So I live in Franklin Town, off of Rochester Road. It's one neighborhood with one entrance, and there's about 122 homes in the neighborhood. The municipal boundary divides that neighborhood right down the middle. So the front half of the neighborhood is Franklin Park Borough with 55 houses, and the back half where we live is McCandless Township and 67 homes. And Franklin Park does not require the fence when the powered auto cover is installed. And there's neighbors in the front half of our neighborhood that have in-ground pools installed with the auto covers without fences. Specifically 2209 Ben Franklin. I put in the report sort of an aerial photo of that property. Our property is at the very end back of the neighborhood. It's on a dead end cul-de-sac. There's steep wooded terrain on all three sides, and the rear yard is functionally inaccessible from, you know, the general public. So the back of we have 2.25 acres, which is a unique lot for that neighborhood. And it's a wooded hillside cul-de-sac. So the back half of our yard is 3-tiered, and it goes down to Wall Park where Sloop and Rochester meet. And we're going to put the pool on the middle tier of the yard, which is really the only place to put it. And to do that, we have to build a 4-foot-high retaining wall. We have to build grade up. So the backside of the pool will have a 4-foot-high retaining wall with a guardrail on it. The front side of the pool will have a planter bed and a seat wall. So there's going to be two sets of stairs that go to the pool. The rest is kind of enclosed with either the retaining wall, the guardrail, the planters, all that stuff. So we're have kind of a layered barrier system, and we're going to hopefully do, well, either way, we're going to do the auto pool cover, which is keypad access or locking key. And it's, you know, continuously secured, it's low graded. You know, secondary is the retaining wall with the guardrail, the planters, the seat walls, 2 points of access. And then just talking about the code, you know, being a structural engineer, I read a lot of code. The PA Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2021, section 305.1, effective January 1st, 2026, allows for the powered ASTM rated F1346 cover that it eliminates the barrier requirement for in-ground pools. And McCandless, section 1304.230 requires compliance with the PA construction code, which incorporates that PA swimming code by reference. We've also spoke with our insurance company, Erie Insurance, and they said, you know, as long as you meet the PA building code, you know, auto cover is perfectly fine. So we're just respectfully asking for, you know, approval of this variance, just given the unique lot, the newer safety covers, and we think it's just a better fit for our property as well. You know, we have 2.25 acres, it's hilly, you know, putting a fence would really cut it up. And we wouldn't be able to really use that whole yard as much. A dog wouldn't be able to roam, all that stuff. So yeah, any questions? Willing to answer.
Well, again, these are the same arguments, so that we're the same information that we just discussed. I just have a couple points of clarification. And first of all, I want to thank you as well as Mr. Knapp for the comprehensive nature of what you submitted. We're used to getting, in fact, never mind, I'm not going to say that. There's another feeling I do. But those comprehensive information, correct? You have 3-dimensional renderings, you know, Mr. Knapp had drawings, you had the floodplain drawings, you had topography, you did the same thing, Mr. Graham, so I very much appreciate that. Just one point of clarification, and again, it doesn't change the context of what we just discussed. But I took a little exception because you really kind of hammered home the fact that, you know, this is a split jurisdictional development.
Yeah,
That's not really a hardship.
No.
You're at your home. When you was in McCandless, there's 67 lots in McCandless, there's 55. I mean, there may be other parts of zoning in Franklin Park that are different in McCandless, but so that's not really a hardship. And you really kind of hammered that's the number one hardship. And it was like, that's not really a hardship. It is what it is. You bought a home in McCandless, and I think the bigger issue is we
Right.
acknowledged with the previous applicant that we need to address that issue. So I think it's important to make that point. But again, nice package of information. The other question I had is, you indicated that there's 2 access points to the pool. It looks like there's 4 on your drawings. There's stairs coming. Let me get a drawing that I can reference.
Yeah, there's
I counted 4 access points. Yeah. There's stairs that are coming in from, I guess, I don't have a north arrow on here.
It was meant to say 2 stair access points without gates.
Okay,
One of the stair access will have a locked gate down to the pool equipment. The other will have a locked gate to the lower
okay,
yard.
because that's what I did notice, that
Yeah,
2 of the access
correct.
points had gates and 2 didn't. Okay, so there are 4 access points.
2 unsecured access
got it.
points.
And again, just so we're clear, and I again can confirm the property was properly posted. I didn't go wandering into your backyard. First of all, there was a dog in your front yard. That
He's
was
very
that would have been welcome. So, but I saw the information you submitted was excellent, because I mean, your app is unique. It's, what'd you say, it's 2.1 acre.
Yeah.
It was down to Red Park.
Very steep.
Yeah, it's a very unique terrace lot. So I think this is actually a very prudent design, and it's not going to be a cheap design with the 4-foot high wall that's probably anchored in as well. So
It is not.
I'm a retired engineer as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, that's just the points I wanted to make. Art, we'll start with you. Any further questions for Mr. Graham?
Nancy, if the neighbor on each side of you wanted to build a pool, would they have the same problems, and topographically?
The neighbor to the right, I don't think would be able to build a pool without significant retaining walls, because it just drops off so steep.
So he would have the same.
I don't even
He
think.
face the same issues.
Right, yeah, that back cul-de-sac is very unique in how just the topography kind of falls off very steeply down to Rochester and Sloop. Ours is kind of unique. I think the original builders kind of leveled out 3 tiers, and they were planning to put a tennis court or something in the lower tier, and they never did. So it's really unique. We have a big flat spot, like, but way in our lower yard in the woods, but.
Yeah, to address Mr. Nussbaum's comment, looking at your aerial image that you provided, both the house to your right and the house to your left. I don't know how they would put a pool.
No.
They'd have to be suspended from the slopes. I mean, holy cow. But okay, good point, Mark. Anything for you, Scott?
Just in your exhibit. Your photo, the photos of your backyard, exhibit C. So there's an existing, it looks, if I'm referencing this one that's looking down.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
this is the area where you're putting the pool.
Where the
correct.
playground is currently, that is being moved. So
Oh,
that's like a second
Okay.
tier. So there's an upper tier. The second tier is that there's this 2-foot high seat wall.
so this is gonna be the seat wall.
That's the
in
seat
your-
wall with a big planter bed at the top. The pool goes where
So then another retaining wall.
that's on the back side is the
Yeah.
big 4-foot wall with a 3-foot guardrail. Just because for safety, I mean, you gotta put a guardrail on top of a 4-foot wall.
Right, especially if you're gonna be jumping in and out of.
Right.
with,
So
children, so.
there will be some barriers, like fence barriers that would sort of meet the fencing requirement, but not the whole way around.
Yeah. But there isn't in your proposed plan any, well, I guess, yeah. I mean, you could add a fencing kind of on the back end of the seat wall probably, and I understand it would mess up the view, but I think the question before us here is really more like the first applicant.
Right.
The topography and this and fencing. It's dependent upon whether we accept this alternative method, so, yeah, I just was a little bit unsure of the layout of your lot as to what you were looking to do, but that clears it up for me. I don't have any other further.
Yeah, we looked at fencing options, like we wouldn't necessarily put it on that seat wall, we would probably kind of wrap it all the way around and try to tie into the house. Versus put it on the seat wall.
And again, as per the last applicant, this is just in my opinion, a much safer alternative. Just particularly when you consider the unique nature of this lot. Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this appeal? Okay, hearing no further comments, I'm ready for a motion on this appeal.
For appeal 2061 for the property at 1042 Printers Place. I move that the applicant be granted a variance from section 1304 to install a pool without a 4-foot fence, as discussed and laid out to the board this evening upon the provision of the installation of a certified safety pool cover.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show this appeal was approved unanimous of 3-0. Thank you, sir. for
Thank
your-
you.
Again, your comprehensive
Thank
information.
you.
Okay, next is appeal 2057. The applicant is 10X Ventures LLC, doing business as Sinorama, Monroeville. The location of property is 8633 Old Perry Highway. The parcel identification is 714-R as in Robert -208. This is located within M. Michael and Nancy Neighborhood Center zoning district. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 1305.140 subsection C as in Charlie, 5 subsection O as in Apple, which states that pylon signs are not permitted. Again, for the record, I visited the property. It was properly posted. For the board's background, this particular building was a daycare. It was operated by Tender Care. If you remember, we granted a variance. Tender Care moved down the street and they purchased the Howard Hanna building on Route 19. And so we have another daycare going into this existing building. Matt, does the town have any comments or perspective on this appeal?
No, I would just add that the town has recently adopted an updated ordinance regarding the sign update. That was passed in April of this year. So just wanted to add that to the record to state that, the sign ordinance has been recently updated. But the town does not have any comment on this specific application.
With the updates to the sign ordinance, does that address this particular appeal?
It does not address this particular appeal, but I comment it because it did address the general regulations to digital display signs and some general regulations to the sign code.
Okay.
But I believe that in regard to this application, it did not, none of the changes actually changed. It was just re-reviewed.
Okay. And I haven't seen that yet, so I'm just curious, did it address the pylon sign issue? With the definition of pylon?
It's changed with this sign regulations.
Okay,
Just general regulations for some of the usages of types of signs, but nothing that's directly related to this.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So can you introduce yourself, I'm sorry for the reporter. Are you representing the daycare or the sign company?
The sign company. My name is Tina Stump. I'm with 10X Ventures doing the site in a room. STUMPF.
Okay, so you have nothing more to add other than what was submitted at the episode?
Resubmitted.
Okay.
It's gonna be another daycare center, so safety is their concern, having a sign that can be seen.
Okay,
District.
and I, again, can for the record show that I visited the property was properly posted. There is an exhibit, it's actually a site plan for the Tender Care site dated 90, looks like 98, but it shows where the new sign location is. One question, ma'am, for you, and if you know the answer, the first page of your exhibit, here, we see the name of the daycare, early years. What is the black underneath that? Is
That would
that,
be a changeable copy sign.
I'm sorry?
Changeable copy sign,
Okay, digital?
yes.
Okay. And Matt, does the size of this sign comply with? The zoning ordinance requirements, signage requirements, the new ones?
The active pool, the requirements did not change for the sizing or anything with the zoning ordinance. My comment regarding the update to the sign ordinance was just in relation to the fact that the town recently adopted a new sign ordinance and reviewed it at a public meeting, and just for context of that the town has recently reviewed that. In
Okay.
terms of on-premise regulations, in the MN district, it allows for a 32 square foot sign with maximum height of 8 feet. And pylon signs are not permitted.
Okay, that's the big issue here is pylon. You know the size, this drawing shows the total height. If I'm reading this correctly, is 150 inches.
Correct.
Do you know the white portion of the sign, it's early years child development centers, do you know? I see it's 75 inches wide, do you know the height of that? I guess I could figure it out, there's 150 minus 48.25. No, that would give me both, yeah.
50 inches for each section, it looks like.
So it looks like,
4 feet 5 inches for each.
okay, so it appears that they're gonna be okay on the size of the sign, but it's the issue of the pile.
Well, the size is from the height to the ground.
The whole thing.
It's the
Okay,
whole, it's not just there's a max
Yeah.
sign area, which is the
gotcha.
sign of the area sign, but the height is be the same as if you had a McDonald's sign. The post and the big M is everything from the bottom to the top.
And the other information was provided with the application actually showed the tender care previous business on this site, and it utilized pylon sign.
Yep, pylon signs were in the 2023 update to the town's code is when pylon signs were adjusted to be not permitted in the MN district.
Okay,
Because the MN district was created in the 2023 zoning code.
and similar, there's some other businesses on that immediate vicinity of this property that have pylon signs, but these again are pre-existing conditions.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Brad, questions? Start with you this time.
Matt, can you clarify what's the height of, what's the height that's allowed for a sign?
For a monument sign in the MN district, the permitted height is 8 feet.
Oh, but that's for a monument sign.
Yeah, pylon signs are not
Pylon.
permitted.
Right, okay, yeah, we've got like 3 different pieces of information here. I'm. Matt, would they be? What would be the town's position on? I mean, there was, I don't know if that sign is still there, I apologize. I did not have a chance to drive by this property due to a health issue. But the sign that was there, the tender care sign, it's there and it's in their exhibit. They could repurpose that existing sign under kind of grandfathered, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, if it's a non-conforming sign, someone that has a non-conforming sign is permitted to submit a sign permit utilizing that sign. And then there is a caveat that they're able to make an adjustment to non-conforming signs up to 25% depending. But it's all, that's dependent on submitting a permit that doesn't change the structure of that
Right.
sign.
So the issue here is that they're looking to go to a different shaped sign, a different style of sign, updated technology sign, all of that. This is.
Yeah, once you
Not
change the non-conformity, it's now considered a new sign.
I don't believe that tender care sign is still there.
No, I don't think it is.
I mean,
And it looks like you're going in roughly the same location if I'm comparing the 2 photos, but switching the orientation of the sign.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
This-
because the way the
Yeah, but-
property is, they want traffic to be able to see it and for safety reasons, because it is a daycare center. It will be a daycare center.
In a district where pylon signs are permitted, is this consistent with the statute there? I mean,
In districts where the
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be permitted, pylon signs are permitted in the MC, MU, TC, SD up to 64 square feet maximum area. Maximum sign height is allowed 35 feet. But I would add though that, when it comes to sign codes, I mean, you're talking about a lot of different types of signs that you could build and things like that. So the different zoning districts have very different sign regulations.
The MN district that this property is located in. You said monument signs are permitted use.
Monument signs are permitted, yeah.
And digital displays on monument signs, not permitted. Okay. Okay. This is a little bit unique because it's a pre-existing conditions, but unfortunately tore the sign down. So you can't work with what's there. And this clearly, I'm struggling with this one because what's the hardship? We had existing properties around that were grandfathered in, but they are certainly much smaller. I mean, this sign is pretty big, pretty tall, 150 inches. And it's got a digital board on it. And none of the other businesses around it have digital boards on it until you get across the highway where Sheets is. So, okay.
I believe that's a different zoning district as well.
It is, yeah, it is a different zoning district.
I do have to say, though, I mean, I saw the property too, and coming down Old Perry Highway towards it, I mean, I had a hard time finding it. There is a single sign there, kind of hidden by the trees. I didn't see that. And of course, then there's the issue of the one-way driveway, which way do you go into it, which for someone unfamiliar with that area, that was pretty confusing.
And I guess you're representing the sign company, so
Correct.
you can't speak for the owner of this business.
No, other than just talking to him, and again, I've said it like 3 times, I'm sorry, but it being a daycare center, they're concerned with safety, so they want to be able to, somebody to identify that business should there be an emergency.
Well, I think, I'm not being coy about it, but you could have a monument sign.
Right.
Why let the code-
Seen though, that's what they're saying, that it
You know,
can't be seen.
it actually be closer to the road, it would provide better visibility. I'm tending to want to either table this for next month and have the owner present
Okay,
to address those issues, or I don't think that act favorably. I'm just speaking for myself.
Then let's
You really have no hardship here.
then let's have the owner, for next month.
Okay, so you agree that,
And I think if you take questions back to the owner, I think there's a lot of things going on here, so
Mhm.
I think if we could see some level of working with, like, pylon signs aren't permitted, but also digital displays aren't permitted, also the height's not permitted, so is there a way that we can work to not essentially be granting 3 or 4 variances for one sign? I
Okay.
think would, at least for me personally, I'm not speaking for the others. For me personally, that would be something that I would be more inclined to hear more about.
Okay,
okay.
right.
Thank you for your time. I'll be ready for a motion then to continue this to, I'm assuming, do we have a June meeting?
We have no items on the agenda, but we would if we have anything that goes to the next meeting, so yes.
Okay. All right, has someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we continue appeal number 2057 to the next meeting of the zoning hearing board.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Alan, you okay?
Definitely.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let the record show that unanimously this appeal was tabled or could, not tabled, continued till the next zoning hearing board meeting. Okay, next appeal is 2058. The applicant is LaRoche Universities and the Sisters of Divine Providence. The location of the property is 9,000 Babcock Boulevard. The parcel identification is 827-N as in Nancy -338. It is located in the SD, which is Special District Zoning. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 1302.20270, subsection B as in boy, subsection C as in Charlie 3, which states setbacks must be a minimum of 50 foot. Okay, for the record, did visit this property as well. It was properly posted. This is a rather unique opportunity where the Sisters of Divine Providence are selling off a significant portion of the property, and therefore need to create a lot. And you have the challenge of creating a lot amongst a whole host of existing buildings. There was an exhibit provided with the application that is actually a surveyed engineering drawing. I think they did a pretty darn good job of doing it, with the unique characteristics of all the buildings that were there. But with that little bit of background, not any perspective from the town.
The town doesn't have an official point on this item. I will add that Four Roche has submitted previously to the planning commission for a subdivision. And through that review, it was discovered that essentially there was a discussion of parking requirements versus setback requirement. And that's kind of what has led us to this this variance request. So the town doesn't have a position, but I just wanted to provide that context that the town and Four Roche have been working together through the subdivision line development process.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. McKeegan, how are you? Go ahead, Kevin.
Good evening. I've not been sworn in. I don't know if the board cares to do that or not, but my name is Kevin McKeegan. I'm an attorney with Meyer, Arkovic and Scott in Pittsburgh. We represent the Sisters of Divine Providence. I just want to make one correction to your introductory remarks, Mr. Wojcik. The sisters are not selling this property. They are donating it to La Roche University. This is the sisters, of course, founded the university 16 plus years ago. This is an opportunity for these buildings, particularly the Mother House, which is very underutilized at this point, to be put back to a productive educational use consistent with the sisters' mission. So this is not in any way to be taken as a commercial transaction. This is being done purely to support the university and to maintain the relationship between the congregation and the university. So
thanks, Kevin. Yeah, that thanks for correcting me. I did remember it was a donation, which is quite interesting. It's really kind of pretty impressive, and it'll fit really nice with the campus next door. So it's go ahead, sir. And I'm assuming you're with Tate Engineering.
I am.
Yeah.
Introduce
yourself.
My name is James Wilkinson, JAMES WILKINSON, 8 Allegheny Center, Pittsburgh, PA. So as you mentioned, this is part of a subdivision that we have applied for. And our main hardship that we're claiming is that these buildings were here long before the zoning ordinance, and they come to foreseen that this could potentially be part of La Roche University much later. And with the 50-foot setbacks on either side of the proposed line, that basically makes it impossible to ever separate these buildings or use them in a better way as we're proposing to do. And we strongly believe that the benefits of this expansion of the college are far outweigh the strict enforcement of those setback lines. So we're asking for a 19.66 foot reduction in the rear setback. That would leave 30.34 feet behind the Alpha Gym. So the building that's not in conformance is the Alpha Gym. Behind it and between the commons, that residential building, there's an existing driveway, which is to stay in place. So reducing the setback will not alter the function of either building or the lot in any way. It won't affect the character because the buildings have been here for so long. So yeah, we really think this is an exciting thing for the town and for the college. So if you have any questions, I'd love to field them.
One question, I was, and again, I can see a unique challenge you had to fit property lines around the existing, but would you also need a variance for the one-story brick and block garage?
That's considered an accessory building. There was a comment made by someone from the town that we should show the accessory setback line as well, which it does meet. So we will add that on.
So Matt, just confirm that that is treated as an accessory building and therefore it doesn't have the 50-foot setback.
Correct, and it was commented in the gateway response letter to the submitted subdivision and land development application.
Okay, good, thank you. Scott, questions for Mr. Wilkinson?
This is an impressive, this is an impressive, what am I looking, initiative, being undertaken here, both from an engineering perspective, trying to draw what is a highly irregular lot now, but also just for what it, I'm sure will mean for, the university and for the sisters probably as well. My one question, well, a couple questions, but first question, you referenced this two-story brick building, which would be the non-conforming building where the variance is being sought. You referred to that as the Alpha Gym. I'm assuming that was from the now closed Providence Heights Alpha School.
Correct.
And
yeah.
was it used as a gymnasium?
It was formerly the Kettler Center, and I think it is right now considered a gym. I'm not sure how it's functioning currently. I think we have some representatives here that could speak more to the proposed future use.
I guess, so, okay, maybe if we have a representative from the university, maybe needs to answer this. My only thought is, the setbacks are designed for, you know, privacy and space, especially where there are residential concerns. Obviously, the sisters are in support of this, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But is that going to be turned into dormitories or cafeteria type function for the university, or is this being left for?
I don't believe so. The
extracurricular?
extracurricular and the mother house, actually they want to use that. They're considering using one of the top floors as dormitories possibly in the future. So
But that's at the mother house, which is
the mother house,
well
yeah,
away
not-
from what we're talking about here.
yeah. So the 30 feet behind this, we believe that's more than enough for this building to continue functioning as either higher learning or as a gym if they want to continue.
Curriculars,
Yeah.
clubs, that kind of stuff. Okay. No, I don't think I have any other questions.
Mr. Nussbaum?
No questions.
No questions? Okay. Relative to the planning commission, when they were in for subdivision, Matt, you mentioned they were having issues. Were those resolved or that required them to redraw the lines and come to before us?
Essentially, in their discussion of how to make this type of development function, they had to look at a few different land development features, like the orientation of where the parking was for each lot, the frontage and things like that. A lot of those items have been discussed between Tate and Gateway, and have been hashed out to the point where the only essentially variance that they would be required for the application that they have submitted to the planning commission for a future meeting date would be this variance
Okay.
submission.
Very good.
Question, that brings up a point though. Does this at all impact? I cannot remember the placement. We had a parking issue with the Sisters of Divine Providence related to the Eco Village. And the lot that they were going to be using, but that's not either of the two lots shown here. is
No,
it?
no,
Okay,
that's-
that was well over, okay.
Yeah, well under construction. It's,
Well, I know it's under
Yeah.
construction, but just.
Yeah,
it was
that's
that
way-
little lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, they're using that lot as a staging area right now for construction.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this appeal? Okay, hearing none, I'm ready for a motion.
For appeal number 2058, for the property located at 9,000 Babcock Boulevard. I move that the applicant be granted a variance, a 19.66 foot variance to the side setback requirement of section 1302.
Okay, motion, a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussions? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the appeal is approved unanimously. Thanks, sir, for the information. Good to see you, Kevin. You're very welcome.
Kevin.
Okay, next appeal. 2059. The applicant is Wen Yao or you? I apologize from 035 Broad Lawn Drive. That is a parcel identification of 610-E as in Edward -166. This property is located in the RL, which is Low Density Residential Neighborhood District. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 1303.220, subsection B as in boy 11, subsection B as in boy 1, which states coops must be located 50 feet from any lot line. Again, for the record, I visited the property. It was properly posted. Matt, does the town have any perspective?
Town does not.
I had a question. Do you know when the town enacted the chicken ordinance?
I don't know, but I could probably easily find that.
Okay, was it prior to the redo of the zoning ordinance?
Yes, there's always
Okay,
been some
there's always-
regulation, correct?
Okay, very good. That's, I just wanted to know. Okay. Okay, and how would you pronounce your last name?
How?
How? Okay, thanks. Sorry, I butchered that. It's, yeah, and this is Mrs. Howe from 8035 Broadmoor. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks, I don't hear board for giving me this chance.
Talk a little louder.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's recording. She's a stenographer, so you're gonna have to speak a little louder.
Louder and slower.
oh, slow, okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Doing Hearing Board, for giving me this chance. So, my name is Wen Ho. I was an oncologist for 10 years in China before I came here. I did cancer research over 20 years in PIT, Human Cancer Center. I resigned my job 2 years ago. It isn't because I did bad work. Actually, I did very good work. I have a first order paper that was published on 2016 with cited of 1987 now, close to 2000. I resigned because I want to a different lifestyle and learn from nature. Now I tell everyone why I need this variance. Number one, I start to grow the organic non-GMO vegetable in my backyard. When I finally knew the organic non-GMO food is the best for our body. Eating organic non-GMO food is the best way to prevent cancer and other disease. Human body was be created so good by God. Immune system and autophagy was being established perfectly to protect our body. Immune system for killing the bad thing that invaded our body. Autophagy for clean our body. If these two systems are good, human body shouldn't have cancer and other disease. To keep these two systems in good, hardly depended on what we are eat every day. In the past 20 years, the cure rate on cancer didn't significantly improve, but the incidence rate was increased too much, especially in China. the city that I lived in China only have oncology in the hospital 20 years ago. 10 years later, 2 cancer hospitals with more than 10 floors building was built. I knew that cancer can be caused by many reasons, but the food has main impact on healthy. The organic non-GMO food has been totally replaced by the food with chemical fertilizer and some of GMO food in China in past decades. In food sector, actually the US is worse than China. That is the reason Healthy Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. had his MAHA project. After I had grown vegetables several years, I found chicken's manure is a good fertilizer. Then raising chickens crossed my mind. Also, I can eat the best egg too. The good thing is, in my backyard, in the middle of the lawn, had a big tree with some plants around. It is a good place for raising chickens. Then I bought a fence that is 6 feet higher, 50 feet long. The fence is perfect for this place. Then I made a very safety and a big enough coop for chickens. Now I needed to say sorry about this. I didn't get the permit before I started raising chickens. Also, I want to say thanks to my neighbor who reported this to the town office, because I had learned lots from the past 50 days. I was a simple and shy person. Now I am growing. I even can stand here. Number 2, I want to say raising chicken is not an easy thing to do because it has a lot of work, especially to clean the chicken's manure. But what I have gained and learned from the raising chicken is much more than from dogs and cats that I have. Hard work pays off. Number 3, last year, my oldest son, who finished his master's degree on nutrition, and he found a job in Heinz Food Company and worked on MAHA project. He told me he made new food with organic non-GMO ingredient. I believe many organic non-GMO foods will appear in the store next year because I knew MAHA project had been started in many big food companies in last year. I also want to join MAHA. What I'm doing now is for myself and my family. Meanwhile, I'm preparing myself. My dream is to own a farmer to grow organic food. Finally, I found the best way to against cancer. So, and I needed to learn more now. Number 4, my backyard has become more teeming with life after I grow vegetable, especially after raising chickens. More birds and other animals come. Neighbors' kids come to see chickens too. Number 5, the place didn't change other things because the only thing I do is replace the plants with chickens. It didn't alter the essential character of the neighborhood, nor permanently impair the appropriate use, nor be detrimental to the public welfare. On the contrary, it had improved public welfare. I had shared vegetable and eggs with some of my neighbors. I would share more when I have more. Number 6, I couldn't change my lot size. I couldn't raise chicken just because it's so cold. So I need this. Number 7, I like to see the least modification possible of the regulation in issue. Then more person can raise chickens and join Maha project. In the end, I want to say thanks to Matthew. He guided me step by step with so many patience. He gave me hope. Though he told me in the beginning this process would be hard and expensive. Indeed. But I'm growing. I have learned much more. Thanks everyone for listening my presentation. Thanks Zoe hearing board again. The 7 had been done last week, but I didn't get the certificate now. When I get, I'll send to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Howe. How long have you had the chickens?
Almost a year.
I'm sorry, multi-years,
Yeah, almost years. Almost, yeah, years.
3 years?
No, years. Yeah.
2 years.
She meant
1 year?
almost.
Almost 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I can provide just for context, where we're at in this application. The town was notified that there was on at 8035 Broad Lawn Drive, that there was a coop constructed and chickens located on the property without any permitting. We then sent a letter to Ms. Howe. She then responded to that and worked through the variance to submit this application. Just wanted to provide that a
okay.
little bit of context.
So, was there a complaint from the neighborhood?
Correct.
Okay. Okay,
This, yeah.
yeah, Ms. Howe, I appreciate your passion for organic foods and wanting to find cures for helping fight cancer. Believe me, I'm supportive. Unfortunately, this isn't, we don't have a lot of discretion here. You have a lot that's only 85 feet. And the ordinance says that you need to have the chicken coop a minimum of 50 feet from any lot line. So basically and I realize the way you're looking at me, you're not understanding, but I think the ordinance was crafted for that reason, because they wanted to have chicken coops on bigger size lots. Because let's face it, chickens are noisy. You may love them. Some people don't love them. And then having a lot that's only 85 feet, you can't have a chicken coop. It's just impossible by the way the code is written. So, and again, I think the intent of that was they didn't want chicken coops in very small, tight lots. I drove the neighborhood. I mean, it's a tight little neighborhood. Everybody has very small lots. And that's, I think, was the premise why the ordinance was written that way, because they did not want chicken coops on small lots, just because you got neighbors that are too close and they're very noisy. For us to approve a variance like this, and believe me, I appreciate your intent and your belief in organic foods and wanting to fight cancer, but we have a series of 5 criteria that we have to go through, and you don't meet any of them. I mean, you need to have a bigger lot to have a chicken coop. And unfortunately, that's just the way the ordinance is written. Again, I appreciate your passion, but there's no way we can approve this variance.
But there's also another one that if you're gonna, on your application, you talked about a place for storing the manure. And the ordinance says for manure storage, your storage has to be 200 feet from your property line. So I think that's another problem. And also, if your chicken coop is going to be visible from your neighbor's backyards, it needs to be surrounded by shrubbery. So there, it's more at stake than just the 50-foot, 50.
I mean, now am I,
No, what I was gonna say was, first of all, just like Mr. Kwachek, from a personal standpoint, like I agree with a lot of the things that you said. I heard what you said. But in the town of McCandless, there's a law here about chicken coops, and the proper place to get the law changed is to go to the town council with the elected officials who put this ordinance in place in the first place, and to say to them, times have changed. Lots of people are growing, have chickens now. And I think the law should be changed. We can't change the law here at this board. We can give exceptions in extenuating cases, like you heard earlier with the pool thing, where it's a 5-acre lot and people, there's partial fences around it and it's way out in the middle of nowhere. As Mr. Kwachik said, this ordinance clearly applies, and if you were able to have the chickens in your neighborhood, then every single person in your neighborhood could do the same thing. And this ordinance would basically be wiped off the books. So if you want to get the law changed, you're going to need to go to see the town council. And I have no idea what their view on this is at this point, but that's where this would have to go, as far as what I believe.
thank you, Alan. That's where I was headed next is, I would suggest, that you have, at the end of this meeting, you discuss with Mr. Wall, who's on town council and is here to report to council on these kind of issues. So Mr. Shuckroad described it exactly right. I mean, we cannot approve this. You have to get the ordinance changed to allow chicken coops on smaller pieces of property. And if town council decides to do that, the zoning code could be changed to allow 25-foot setback, maybe whatever they come up. But I can tell you that there's good reason for that, because chickens are noisy. And I shop at Whole Foods as well. I appreciate organic food, but we just can't change. We cannot grant this variance. You don't meet any of the criteria. Like Mr. Shuckrow said, the best thing you could do would be to see if town council is receptive to looking at this ordinance relative to the setback requirements from property lines. Because clearly with 85 feet of width in your property, you can't do it. You can't meet it.
Yeah, I know that I can meet, that's why I need requirements.
Right, but just to, right, and we know you understand, but to get a variance, there has to be something unique about your property as opposed to other properties. And I mean, I know Brook Park very well. I grew up in the area. I lived pretty close. And all the lots are about the same. Okay, there's nothing unique about your property. I mean, you heard us here earlier when they were talking about the pool. Both of those gentlemen were talking about what was unique about their property and what made it different and made the situation different. There isn't anything that you can point to. You have a typical Brook Park lot, I mean, just like everybody else does. And if we allow this for you, we would have to allow it for everybody. And town council would say, well, then you've basically rewritten the ordinance, and you zoning board are not elected by the people of McCandless to do that. We're not elected to change what the law is. So that's where it is.
Oh, I see. Okay. I can understand what mean if I need to continue or.
I'm happy to explain after this meeting what that process would look like. That they're explaining that going to town council. But that's totally separate from what this board does. So that's kind of kind of a separate.
Town council creates the ordinances, laws per se, and we are asked to interpret them relative to 5 criteria that are defined by state planning code. And as Mr. Shuckler said, you don't meet any of those criteria. We cannot grant this variance. There's no basis for it. There's no basis for it. You need to go back and see if you can get the law changed that will allow chicken coops on smaller pieces of property. And Matt explained, he will be glad to talk you through that process. And as I mentioned, Councilman Wall is here. He's on town council. He's heard it, so he knows what we're talking about. And that I would talk to him about how you start that process. And if you're passionate about it, which I believe you are, you'll probably give it a shot. And you may not need a variance because you may get the ordinance changed. Okay.
Okay, I will.
Matt, I think if you follow up with the applicant, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, next appeal is.
Were you gonna make a motion?
That's right. Sorry. Yeah, so we've heard the discussion. Scott, I'm sorry I didn't give you any chance, but there's nothing new to, but so I am ready for a motion on this appeal. Thanks for correcting me.
Are you okay if I word this in the negative to avoid any confusion?
You can,
Okay.
that's fine.
So for appeal 2059 for the property at 8035 Broadlawn Drive, I move that the applicant's request for a variance be denied.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Let the record show unanimous disapproval of the appeal.
And so, yeah, we'll have to write when the variance is denied, you have to write a decision with findings of fact. We'll do that.
Very good. You have a lot to write about tonight.
That'd be 3, right? 2 are similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say you are gonna write them on both pools.
Yes, yes.
Okay, lastly on our agenda is appeal number 2060, and the applicant is Habib Shi. And if I'm butchering that, I apologize. The location of the property is 1701 Duncan Avenue. This is the Duncan Manor Shopping Center. It's parcel identification 717-A as in apple -236. It is located again in the M. Michael N. Nancy Neighborhood Center zoning district. The applicant is requesting variances from sections 1305.140 subsection C as in Charlie, 2 subsection C as in Charlie, and section 1305.140 subsection C as in Charlie, 5 subsection A, which states properties are permitted 1 freestanding sign and pylon signs are not permitted. Matt, any perspective from the town on this?
No, the town does not have a position on this item. I can just state that there is on this property, there is an existing freestanding sign that is for the dollar store.
Correct. Okay, again, for the record, I did visit the property. It was properly posted. The farm market was thriving that we granted use for. And I did note and honestly, the one thing that caught my eye, and I see that we have 2 gentlemen here, probably the restaurant owner, but are you associated with the shopping center?
No.
No, okay. One point, well, you know what, let me turn it over to you and present your testimony. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, actually, this is 2 applicants, my restaurant and Robo's brewing company. But I prepared this material. That's why I just saw my name on it. Yes.
That answers my first question. I saw Yo-Yo Panda, traditional Asian tea, and illusion brewing.
Yeah, next door. That's why.
I see you right beside each other in the strip center.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I want.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So good evening, members of the board. Thanks for your time. My business is a restaurant, the Yo-Yo Panda, and this restaurant originally opened JJ Panda and in 2023. After the 2 previous owner, we took over last May and fully renovated the space. JJ Panda focus on takeout and American style Chinese food, and then we totally update the concept from American style Chinese food to traditional Chinese food and some Southeast Asian food. We have Indonesia food, Thai food, and Vietnamese food. We just pick up some of the classical food from Southeast Asia countries. So we are an Asian fusion restaurant. After we took it, we opened it in last July, and in the last 10 months, our business increased indeed, but the growth is very slow. This slow growth plays the big challenge for our business. So we are respectfully requesting a sign variance for a modest parent sign along the Duncan Avenue. This request is driven by unique site conditions, not by our actions. And our restaurant and Lobos, the brewing company located in the Duncan Avenue, the plaza named Manor Shopping Center. And it has a very deep parking lot, more than 110 yards. So this condition set my business far from the Duncan Avenue. So the drivers on the Duncan Avenue is almost impossible to see our business. So it's a very low visibility locations. And now the plaza, 2/5 of the business locations are empty. But before the COVID, the plaza is busy, but now not very busy. That's why the previous two owners, they give up. But for me, I try my best to make my business good. Yes. And this hardship was not created by us. As a new tenant, we had no roles in the plaza's layout or the landlord's signage policy. But granting this variance will not alter the characters of the end-to-end neighborhood central districts and negatively impact neighboring property. The proposed sign is modest in size and professional design and will fully comply with all other standards for material, lining, safety, and maintenance. It will simply help identify an active business in the plaza. So this approval is essential for the continued success of our restaurant in this low visibility location. So now nobody, he had, I think, yes, for our application.
I wanted to add to the.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my apologies. Robert B, address of the business, yes. Robert Buchanan, Buchanan, business 1701 Duncan Avenue, suite, depends on who you're asking, we say two. To add to the ultimate hardship is that what Ben said is very true, that the plaza angles very much away from the intersection. When you're in the intersection, the view of half of the plaza is blocked by the get-go and trees and when I initially signed my lease with the property owner, I inquired about why we were a strip mall that did not have a pylon sign with every business on it, as almost every other strip mall does in existence. And I was told by the owner that was in the process, and then COVID happened. After the fact, in talking, I don't believe that was ever in the process with McCandless to install that at all. So the hardship that Ben and I are up against is that we are on our own as far as visibility, as far as trying to keep our businesses alive. There are two existing pylon signs for the plaza already. They are unfortunately privately owned by Dollar Tree. So we can't add, they won't allow us to add, despite the fact that these pylon signs for Dollar Tree are in excess of your regulations. I understand they're grandfathered in. They are very tall. They are 30, 40 feet tall signs. They're huge. And they won't even allow us to put a sign near the bottom of these pylon signs, which would have been optimal. The pylon's already there. We're just adding to it. And so in lieu of the fact that we have very low visibility to our signs, the owner is not helping us in any way with pylon signs. Ben and I are on our own. We're trying our best to keep our businesses open, and visibility to the intersection of Duncan and Thompson Run, which is very high traffic, we feel would allow us to give us a fighting chance to stay in business.
Yeah, usually almost every the plaza has a sale and public sign, and then all the business name on the side. But no, we don't have it. And then I talked to the manager, the landlord hire a manager to manage this plaza. Actually, the landlord has many plaza, and then I talked to the manager. He said they don't have a plan to build a public sign. And I tried to talk to the manager of the Dollar Tree in the plaza. Every time she said no, because it's trouble for her to do that. He had to report to the headquarters of the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree is a franchise, so we don't have any opportunity to put our sign on it. And even I put a banner on the Dollar Tree. They allow us to put a banner, and then was took over by the government and so on about it. Yeah.
So that right there shows you that the owner contradicted himself, told Ben that there was never a plan, no plan, but a pylon sign
Yeah.
with all the businesses, and that's contrary to what they told me when I signed that lease. Do I, could I potentially have a case against the owner? Sure. Do I want to go to that route? No. So, I mean, the easiest thing was to approach the zoning board to see if it's okay for us to put up a sign.
This wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. This is another unique one. Because when I first went out to the property, I thought, why don't they just putting up with Dollar Tree? There's
Exactly.
signs and
Dollar Tree on it.
what was interesting is in the material you concluded when, I guess Mr. Sizmore is with Viola Food Stores, SISMUMOUR. And when you would inquired about putting a sign up, he said, would that be, replying to your request to apply to the township for a monument sign, I would like to inform you and McCandless Township that we're on board and you have our permission to move forward. With that being said, we would request that you use one or both of the existing sign locations for your new sign. Sincerely, Kevin Sizmore, Director of Operations for Viola Food Stores. So, clearly, GetGo has a very nice digital pylon sign.
Yes.
Grandfathered, obviously. And there are two pylon signs, both with nothing on them but Dollar Tree.
Yes.
And I appreciate your testimony, Matt. The town can't force any of this, right? I mean, you can't go to.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a multi-tenant panel sign like written into our ordinance, something that we considered looking at. But no, I mean, when you're talking about a property owner and a sign, like it's on the property owner to say they want to
Now,
sign it on their sign.
if they were able to obtain, if what you're presenting is true, and you have every reason to believe it is, but if Dollar Tree does own the signs and they would grant approval, would they be allowed to put a little brewing, Illusion Brewing and Yo-Yo Panda on that Dollar Tree pylon?
My interpretation of our code, because it doesn't specifically state anything regarding tenant signs, is I look at the sign structure. So there's nothing I would say that they'd be permitted to have a multi-tenant sign. The code's intent was for the number of signs. So if it's multi-tenants on one sign, as long as they're applying for it, it meets the code for each individual sign for the sizing, I would say that it'd be permissible.
Okay. Because I truly think you have a unique hardship here with how the depth of that, the fact that PennDOT operates their facility in the front. I didn't know you were there until I was over there today. I didn't know you were there. And it's, you're in a tough spot there. And if you got people that do not want to cooperate with you, unfortunately, the town can't force them to.
Yeah.
And
I'll even comment too, just from like a planning perspective, looking at this lot. We're in the MN district for a use that's not supposed to be in the MN district. I mean, it's a neighborhood center that has a large shopping center that doesn't meet any setbacks, doesn't meet any of the new zoning. So it's a very unique and difficult lot with the zoning at post the 2023 zoning update.
Okay. Alan, help me out here. The fact that these guys are really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
The town cannot force the owner of the shopping center or force Dollar Tree to allow them onto their sign,
Yeah, I don't think we can do that, but I mean, you're right. I was reading the same thing earlier, and I didn't understand why don't you use the existing locations thing? Like I understand that. Do you know what they meant when they wrote that back to you? Why did they say that? Why did the Viola person say to you, use one of the existing sign locations?
Use one or both of the
Yeah,
existing sign
Kevin
locations.
Sizemore is the same gentleman who told me that they were in the process of putting up a multi-business pylon sign, and that was not true. That was never ever a factor. He is the property manager. He just was representing the owner. So his response to, I'm trying to keep my attention.
Well, the one thing, I mean, and I'm not necessarily suggesting this, okay, because I don't know that we want to get ourselves embroiled in a potentially private dispute, but the zoning board does have the power to issue subpoenas. Okay. The zoning board could subpoena Mr. Sizemore and have him come here next month and tell us what the deal is. But I mean, I don't know that we want to do it on our own. I think they would have to ask for it, and then they may not want to do that. And I'm just, you know, because we don't know. I don't know what the guy meant by that.
Do you mind if I ask, do you know if that comment that Kevin had sent was in relation to the existing signs, or did you show him a mock-up of where you wanted to put
A new sign. He
Yeah,
allowed us to
because
put
that was was that in relation to what you sent him, or was that prior? Was he saying, because I think the context of that the letter that was submitted that essentially states that to utilize the two existing locations. From my understanding, I think of our previous conversations, and you can clarify this, is that you had shown Kevin options for each side of Duncan Avenue where you could put a sign, and that's what that comment was in relation to, not in relation to him saying, hey, you need to put this on the Dollar Tree sign. He said you sent him, because I remember talking to you about the approval, because I stated to you that we needed essentially verification from the property owner that you were permitted to do this. I recall that. So I guess if you could just clarify if that was for in relation to what you had presented him for, the sign that you are now presenting to us.
Did you confuse me?
No, can I?
Yeah, either
okay,
is totally
so-
fine.
Yeah, I can tell you from dealing with Mr. Sizemore for 3 years.
Yeah.
That if they don't have to pay for it, they'll give you thumbs up.
Understood.
Like that's his stance. So whether we could add on to the Dollar Tree sign, which I don't think we could, or add a sign similar location to it, which the height that Ben has made plans for will not even remotely come close to covering that Dollar Tree sign. That is up there. So, a sign, a much more reasonable sign within your guidelines.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Sizemore, him saying that, yes, we approve him putting up a sign is because we're paying for it.
Yeah, we pay off the size 70 inches high, and then between 20 to 100 inches wide. It's not big. Yeah.
Just have one question for Matt. I mean, this is the sign that you want to put up. So this is a pylon sign. If you just put a solid base, can you just make that a monument sign? And then you're allowed one monument sign. So the only
The issue is that the question is the number of signs, right?
Yeah, so that's the issue.
So, yes.
If we turn this into a monument sign,
Like, it would be closer to overall compliance, because a monument sign is allowed, isn't it?
yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion was after hearing this frustration and the fact that it's actually another unique hardship is the way this ownership of this center is working and operating. The other thing is, this is not an ugly sign. The business right down below it's even shown in the picture has the same kind of sign. We could simply approve, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, we could simply approve this, or we could ask them to go to a monument sign, which really then wouldn't even need a variance.
Well, they would still need a variance for the number of signs.
That's right.
It would just be instead of two, it'd be one.
Yeah.
This would be the third sign on the property, correct? Because Dollar Tree has two.
The giggle not on the property.
Third,
Yeah, get those.
Giggle no.
Separate.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's separate.
there's a separate piece of
It'd
land.
be freestanding, correct. There's wall signs also, but those
Yeah.
are permitted.
Right.
So, sorry, can I?
No,
can I ask you a question?
it's time for you to weigh in.
So I
most of the variances that we hear at the zoning hearing board are up Greg's alley because Greg is a civil engineer and he can read all these topography maps. So my background is commercial real estate, property management, lease administration. So I read your application the first time and I thought there's no way I'm voting yes on this. Like this is crazy. I'm not, this is not going to happen. I feel deeply for you and I understand very much how difficult this would be. And I've worked for property managers in the past that followed a similar line of management maybe, and I was stuck in very awkward positions. So I understand that. Where here are my thoughts, and this is for the rest of the board as well. My first thought is that the variance, if we were to grant this sign, the variance goes with the property. So if we grant you, as much as I would love to support your businesses, and I hope that you thrive in McCandless Township, but if we grant a variance to allow another sign here, and then either of you chooses to find a new location and leave, the shopping center now has an additional freestanding pylon sign that they can now advertise to any tenant they want, and it's, that would stay permanently with this lot of land. The variance isn't given to you and your businesses, it's given to this plot of land. And I don't think in this case that I'm seeing a hardship from the owner of the land that deems that there's a need for an additional sign on his property as a shopping center owner and property manager. So that's my first thought. My second thought, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have other avenues to pursue with your attorneys or your brokers, if you so choose, to try to force the landlord to put a little pressure in other places, maybe to try to find a solution that works here. Thirdly, while I understand and I greatly sympathize with your point about the lack of visibility and how difficult it is, that should be part of the negotiation as to the market value of the suites that you leased. So if you were to go find a comparable sized space on McKnight Road where you would get on a pylon sign, all things being equal in the market, you should be paying more in rent for the higher visibility on a higher traffic road. So I think that's a concern for me because we're trying to write, and believe me, this is harder on me than I thought it was because I came in here ready to vote no right away. But we're trying to write an economic situation between a landlord and a tenant here that should, I feel like, better be handled through lease compliance and market rent negotiations, not through hardship of the lot itself. So
I have one question. And so this brings up the issue, do rental tenants have standing actually to appeal before a zoning board?
They do if,
They have the
they're
permission.
given, they can be considered a landowner for purposes of this if they're a tenant, if they're given permission by the owner.
And the other question is if Mr. Viola, the Mr. Sizemore were to come here and request the variance, would that change the picture? Then that would go with the land that he owns. Is that correct?
So speaking personally, I would be more inclined to hear it from him if he was able to present evidence as to how Dollar Tree owned the sign.
Yep.
Like, do they have a ground lease? Is he not permitted to make any changes? Right now, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Of course, yeah, go forward with the variance. If you get me another sign, this is great news for me as the property owner. I would be a little bit more inclined to it, but I still think that there are some considerations here that I'm still not sure I could vote yes just from a lease compliance aspect here. But like I said, this is much harder than I thought it was going to be for me.
But can I ask something for clarification?
Absolutely.
If this is not, if you don't feel that this variance is approvable with the sign being both of our businesses, if Ben would put up a sign that was just his business with the solid base and monument, he's good, no variance required? Is that what I'm hearing from Matt?
Not
It met the
quite.
size requirements, right?
It would be, you need a variance for another freestanding sign.
Oh, that's right, because there's already
I mean-
two signs on them.
So we do need the variance.
Two variances.
Just heard you, I thought he, but the equation, let him do monument.
Just to
I appreciate your morals on that.
to clarify, just to explain like what you requested two variances. Variance one, the number of freestanding signs. Variance two, the type of sign being a pylon sign. So if like, let's say that you changed that sign to be a monument sign, so it didn't have it was based from the bottom, then you would only be applying for the number of signs. So would it change whether your illusion's on there or not? Doesn't really change. The number of freestanding signs on the property, because you already have Dollar Trees, you're permitted one. And so now you would be asking for two.
Oh, darn it, I thought I was about to do a good deed.
Yeah, it's nice try. Alan, I think I know the answer to this, but in granting a variance, could we attach a condition that the variance expired with change in ownership of the tenant?
I don't know that that would ultimately be upheld. I mean,
Okay.
we could do it. But I'm not sure that Mr. Sizemore wouldn't, be able to come in and say that that's not really now.
Non-conforming sign then, so.
Right.
I mean, ideally, what I'd love to do is get this guy in here to do it and get a
Yeah.
variance to put in a pylon sign for a strip center. That's what he should be, with all the tenants having equal billing.
Would
Right.
they have
That's-
to pay the zoning fee to come do that?
Yeah,
Then.
I mean, they own the property.
Then-
I mean, you can tell they don't put a lot of care into the property. I mean, you can tell. I'm not a tenant there.
It's Kenny Monument sign.
Yeah.
Two businesses on it, is that, is.
It doesn't, the code doesn't really like specifically state like the number of signs per on a tenant thing. I kind of look at it from the sense of if you have a structure and you're approving that structure, you're permitted to have the size of that sign. So if there's a monument sign that meets the height regulation and there's 2 or 3 different businesses on there, it doesn't really change anything as long as the size of the text, which is the max sign height that we have in our code, as long as that's met and the height of the structure is met, whether there's Yo-Yo Panda and Illusion Burn or just Yo-Yo Panda doesn't really change in my interpretation of what our zoning intends.
So they would be able to put, if they wanted to, you could put up one monument sign, and there would be no issue just to put one, redesign this as a monument sign.
For the number of signs.
Because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but for one sign, you would not need a variance, is that correct?
well, they already have if it was putting it on the Dollar Tree, like because they already have an existing sign, no variances. New sign, two different signs, freestanding signs, you need a variance.
I guess I would like a little bit of feedback from you two gentlemen, from all this discussion, which was very good. And yeah, hopefully you appreciate where we're coming from in terms of precedent setting and all the other stuff that goes with these kind of variances. And I'm uncooperative landlord. We could go the route that Alan suggested and subpoena Mr. Sizemore to be here next month to answer our questions about the sign, and he has to show up. Or the gentleman in the back will make sure he shows up. We can, and that would delay you a month at least, and who knows what he's gonna do. He may be totally uncooperative. The town has no way to force him to do anything. Or we could make a motion to approve what you presented, and I'm not sure what it'll be, if it'll be approved or not, but we could try that if I'd like your feedback. Because we're kind of stuck in a limbo here.
I understand as are we, and I can tell you that I can't speak for him, but I don't know, not you, I mean, Kevin.
Yeah.
I can't directly speak for Kevin, but I've interacted enough with him to know that I don't want to interact with him anymore.
Okay.
I actually call the office and speak to Mr. Viola's children when I have issues or need to deal with it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that. I can't even say that whether Kevin would even know that Dollar Tree that's privately owned signs.
Well, what we could
can't-
do, I think what might be better than to, if we were to do this, I mean, there could be a subpoena issued to the property owner to appear with the person most knowledgeable to discuss the ownership and status of any signage on the property or something like that. Maybe it's Mr. Sizemore, maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. Could it be
Gotcha.
somebody else?
So what, if I, just to clarify that I'm hearing right, so if they would know and we would somehow find permission, even if they were knowledgeable to know that the Dollar Tree pylon is privately owned by Dollar Tree. Whether that was included in Dollar Tree's lease because they're the hub of the entire strip mall.
Mhm.
So whether that sign is privately owned by Dollar Tree or it was included as an agreement, they paid extra for their lease to Viola.
Is there a separate parcel for Dollar Tree? I don't know how.
No, it's they're in the
I don't know how
middle.
the sign could be owned by Dollar Tree.
I was questioning
to the property.
I'm suspecting that they have a ground lease and they're paying an additional fee, but they're responsible to build and maintain
Okay,
the sign.
Yeah, there's no separate
that-
property parcel.
right.
But I mean, that's what we would need to see. Do either of your leases address signage? Like, do you have a section usually there's a section in the commercial lease that refers to signage?
It's the only lease, the sign is that any sign on the building had to meet your township guidelines.
Okay, so the signage rights in your lease say you have the rights for your square footage above your front door.
Yeah.
You
Walmart.
can put up your own sign,
That have.
but it has to meet the McCandless code. So there isn't anything in there about
Other signs,
right, which I mean, would it'd be dumb of them to put that in if they didn't have
rights.
another sign to give you.
I mean, Scott, I appreciate what you made. I mean, your background in commercial leasing is it's valid input. It's really good input. I'm just trying to come up with a way to address the situation that these guys have at hand here. And like you said, Alan, I think they would probably send somebody.
Yeah.
But if indeed it's a lease issue with Dollar Tree,
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to help.
they're not gonna be able to help. So we would have wasted a month and
And we won't get permission
And
from
you-
Dollar Tree anyway.
yeah, I mean.
And it would be if we subpoena their records and see what that lease actually states, like who owns it, who has the rights to maintain it, is it stuck in that fashion forever? Can the landlord add to it? What happens if Dollar Tree leaves the center? I mean, do they then inherit the rights to the site? I mean, there could be a lot of stuff in there, but this property manager is not going to do anything to upset Dollar Tree.
Correct.
So, they're not going to, I mean, that's the sway that anchor tenants have, especially in smaller shopping centers. They get to write the rules. It's unfortunate in this case, because I think this would help everybody. They would still have top billing and it would probably drive more traffic to the center. To me, this is a lease issue. I don't think that the zoning board. I'll state it right out. If you guys put it to a vote today, I will be voting no on this. Not because I don't agree with you, but because I don't think my place on the zoning board is to step into landlord tenant and inherent qualities of a property.
Mhm.
I don't know your terms. You don't have to tell me your terms. I'm guessing that your per square foot rent rate in the center is lower than most of the other properties, comparable properties in the North Hills, partially because of the reasons that you're now seeing. So that, unfortunately, I can't necessarily see a hardship in this. For the lot. I understand you have a business hardship, and I wish there was a way that I could help you, but for the hardship for the property, there are other ways to solve this in my mind. And they're not your solutions. It's the landlord.
Can I ask a question to Matt? With the Dollar Tree sign, the pylon sign already being on the property, would that mean that even Viola would have to get a variance to put up a pylon?
Anybody, any of the tenants on there, the property owner, anyone that does a sign has to get a new permit, and it would be under the same criteria that we're holding this permit under. So any of those businesses on there, even if the property owner just wanted to put up another on-premise sign for a new business that came in, like he wouldn't be able to without doing the same thing that you're doing here.
Gotcha.
Which is why we have the code, right? Because we don't want landlords to just put up 20 signs across the front of the driveway.
Right.
Which is why he's saying, yeah, great, go get the variance. That's it.
Exactly, right.
More
Your
signage is a
points are
good thing.
completely valid, because you're right. If something happens to our businesses, then the landlord, he's like, bonus, I got another sign. Which is very similar to their policies as far as our build outs, where they contribute practically nothing.
And all of those are at least negotiation
Correct.
issue,
Correct.
not a zoning matter,
No, agreed.
unfortunately, in my
Agreed.
opinion. I wouldn't mind. If you want to go your route.
I'm
Right?
inclined to make a motion to grant this variance, subject to the condition that if either the businesses on the sign cease to operate, the variance is gone. In other words, we're not granting, and I appreciate what you're saying, Alan, it wouldn't hold up. If
Right.
the Viola people wanted to sue to say, I've got a new tenant, they had a sign, I have the right, they would probably win, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, I mean,
And I would respect, and if it's turned down, it's fine, but I just think
Yeah.
these guys are in a tough spot, not of their own making. That in my mind is unique hardship. So,
well, technically, I mean, we'll give, if that does end up being the decision of the board, that the owners of the property will receive notice of this decision. They could appeal it.
yeah.
If they don't, then it might be harder for them later to do anything.
Can I ask one?
Yes.
Question to your point.
Yes.
Could we put something in there to protect if something would happen to one of our businesses,
Oh, good.
the other
point.
would have the option to like correct the sign or make it.
I can't add that our code does, in the new sign code update, part of that general regulation was that after a business ceases operation, after 30 days or 60, I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically we added a removal clause for like tenant signs after they cease operation.
Okay, so that was.
So there is a requirement for at least the faces to be removed once the business ends. I don't know if it doesn't really answer the question, but I just wanted to add that for context.
I think it does answer the question.
It does. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
cover
My
up
concern was that if something happens to one of our
Sure.
businesses, that the sign has to come down.
Right. And it apparently wouldn't, but you're saying.
Which is if illusion closes, then I would just say that portion would have to be removed.
Okay.
And then blank or.
Right.
I'm gonna ask one other question. Have you talked to your other neighbors in the shopping center? Like the two of you are here and are obviously working together very well to see what you can do. Have you talked, take the DMV out of it, like they're not.
Yeah, they
They don't need a sign, they don't need to advertise. People will find them. But what about the other tenants across that?
Like Kawa, right? The Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, how do they feel? Do they have an opinion on
I
this?
I didn't talk to Carl, but I talked to my next door, the hair salon.
Oh, here's.
She doesn't need that because the hair salon already in the plaza long time, more than 10 years. Now you already have a loyal customer. They usually make an appointment with name, so they don't need that. Yeah, actually, one night come there, I talked to them, but I didn't talk to.
Just
How
another
about
thing.
Yeah, no,
It-
yeah.
if we-
I have talked to the other, I mean, most of the complex comes to the brewery. So I've talked to almost all of the businesses, and there is frustration that we do not have a communal pylon sign with all of our businesses. But none of the others that I've talked to have wanted to do what Ben and I are doing. To, try to, like, this is a difficult time for breweries, restaurants, bars.
If we were to grant the variance, then you say, what would Kawa do? Hey, you guys got a sign now,
Yeah.
no, you got a variance, I want one too.
I
And,
know.
I mean, that's sort of
That's a
the
concern.
slippery slope that we create.
It's a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's, in terms
is.
of precedent setting, so,
Yeah,
I think we're correct.
it is a concern.
Because that might be perceived as favoritism, hey, you get, and that.
Yeah, what are we gonna say? I mean,
First
we're running out of
thing.
space on the property. I don't know where you put them, but
Mm.
like,
I think my personal opinion again would be to just, they become the third. The third sign, they're the third tenant.
Would we have-
That's what I'm thinking is I think. We're on the record here, but I think you have other avenues to maybe increase pressure. and increase your negotiating stance to see if there's a better solution for the plaza as a whole.
Yeah, and we're not gonna get involved in that.
Right, yeah, we can't get involved in that. I was asking if you would talk to the other tenants,
Right.
but, yeah.
And then the other tenants, that right there, as far as like the tenants gathering together to approach Viola and, get them to go through this process and put up a pylon sign with all of our businesses on us. We know that's a lost cause. They're not going to do it. It wasn't put in the leases. That's our own fault. So I understand that. But yeah, you're, like I said, again, your points are legit about if you granted this, with the other businesses look at favoritism, but on the flip side, you put the notices up at 2 entrances of the property and nobody's here. So,
Well, this is, I hope you appreciate this board really tries to look at the problems and figure out solutions within the context of what we can do.
I see that.
So I'm gonna make a motion. Chairman never makes motions, but I'm gonna make a motion. And if it's defeated, that's fine, but I think this is just crazy. So I will move for appeal to approve Appeal 2060 for the property located at 1701 Duncan Avenue, parcel ID 717-A Apple-236, to approve the 2 variants requested from sections 1305.140 C Charlie 2 sub C and 1035.140 section C Charlie 5 sub A, which permits an additional freestanding sign, pylon sign, in accordance with what was submitted with the application and the appeal number, subject to the condition that if either of the 2 proposed businesses, Yo-Yo Panda and Illusion Brewing Company, cease to operate, then that the request for that sign, the request for that variance be removed. Does that make sense, Alan?
I think we're saying it. I think the request was that if both of the businesses cease to operate.
Both of the businesses cease to operate, right? And the fact that this isn't part of the motion, but the fact that the new thing that you guys just did would address if one of you guys ceases to operate. Okay, so that's my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, let the record show that the motion was approved by 2 to 1. And I appreciate that, Scott. I have no problem with that. That's the way.
Regrettably. Thanks.
But thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much.
And Alan's a good point. They'll get a record of findings.
Yep.
And if they don't appeal it, I mean, what's so far and frustrating is right from your own picture down the street, there's the same sign. But I understand though. I mean, you can't have signs all over the frontage, but it's just, it is a hardship.
Way, and there's a really big sign.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I know, you guys are trying to do.
Tired of that, so.
You can scold me again if you need to, Alan. Yes, I do need a motion to adjourn.
I'd so move.
So moved by Mr. Nussbaum, seconded.
Second.
Mr. Metzger, motion adjourns approved at 9:03. Thank you, officer. You too.